Let's take a close look at number 50, Strategies for Student Success, Intermediate, Advanced. A glance at the cover informs us that students should not take this booklet home, at least not until the objective is complete. Since this objective is a portfolio, the student guide itself contains the assessment tasks. If a student forgets the guide or loses it, the student would need to rewrite all of the information from the lost guide. To ensure this does not happen, collect the guides at the end of your EL Civics work each day. On page 1, students read a paragraph about stress and answer questions about stress. This is task 1. This is a portfolio objective, so you can work together as a class to read the paragraph and answer the questions, or you can ask students to work together and then review answers as a class, or you can ask students to work independently. You know your students best, so choose the method that works best for you and your students. Task 1 is worth 10 points, 2 points for each sentence. Answers do not have to be perfectly written. As long as you can clearly understand a response, it gets full credit. Students will need to record their score on this task on a checklist on the last page of the student guide. Page 2 explains the effects of stress on the human body. Page 3 helps students identify what they can do to relieve stress and plan a paragraph about stress reduction. On page 4, students use the organizer they completed on page 3 to write a paragraph. Here is the actual task. The rubrics to score task 2 are in the teacher guide. A good rule of thumb is if 90% of the writing is accurate in content, grammar, and neatness, the student can receive all 21 points. If 80% is accurate, the student would receive 18 points, and so on. Students will need to record their score from task 2 on the checklist on the last page of the guide. On page 5, the guide shifts its focus from stress to note-taking skills. The study tips on page 5 prepare students for task 3, completing a cloze activity in response to a video. Task 3A and 3B are on page 6 of the student guide. Students will take notes on a 5.5-minute study tips video. You may watch the video more than once if your students are unable to take complete notes the first time. Students do not have to take elaborate notes. To get an idea of the expectations, take a look at pages 8 and 9 of the teacher guide. Students will then summarize their notes. There is a second opportunity to complete tasks 3A and B on the next page of the student guide. We provided this second opportunity in case you have students who do not attend every day. Only one note-taking and summary activity is needed to complete the portfolio. So, if the student completes both pages, the student can select which page to enter on the checklist on the last page of the guide. Page 8 is a student resource page, but you can use it as you work through the portfolio to supplement your lessons on stress relief study tips and study skills. Task 4 on page 9 of the portfolio asks students to select a favorite lesson from the guide and write about how the lesson will help them. Students receive 2 points for checking the lesson that will help them and another 2 points by writing a simple explanation about how it will help them. The explanation can be as simple as, "The lesson will help me relax after a stressful situation," or "The lesson will help me take better notes in class." Students will tear their favorite lesson out of the portfolio and attach it to page 9. On page 10, the final page of the portfolio, you can see the last task, the checklist. You've probably been asking students to enter their scores on this checklist as you've completed each task. There is also an instructor's report on the bottom of the page. To complete the objective, make sure your students have completed their checklist and write your initials next to each item. Add up the points and complete the brief instructor report on the bottom of the page. Staple page 9 and the lesson the student selected to page 10. Turn this into EL Civics with a copy of your roster indicating which students completed the portfolio and PNP, pass, no pass, next to the students' names. And that's it. Your summer EL Civics is complete.